Hi, this is Dr. Eric Westman with another episode of Learn with Dr. Westman. This video will be about the difference between natural sugar and added sugar. You see lots of products that say no added sugar, and apparently it's better for you, right? Well, not really. So I guess I'm here to be the fall guy, the one to have to tell you that added sugar or sugar that's naturally in the food is the same. Now, I'm saying not sugar alcohols and artificial sweeteners, things like that. Those are very different than sugar. But if you have sugar that naturally occurs in food, like fruit and honey, agave, things like that, it still gets absorbed, digested and absorbed as sugar. The glucose and fructose, the basic building blocks that added sugar does too. So I guess I'm here to say that added sugar is something you want to avoid, but there also may be lots of sugar lurking in the foods that say no sugar added. So be careful. With my patients, I always say look at the nutrition facts label, if there's a label on it. Look at total carbohydrate, because they will be adding in the added sugars and the natural sugars all together into that total carbohydrate number. And the number that comes after total carbohydrate is in terms of grams. So if something has 3 after total carbohydrate, it means 3 grams. Just ignore the percentage there thing. It's an artificial number or a calculation based on a certain height and weight of an individual, a certain caloric content or requirement that it's kind of like just a guideline. So always look at the grams of carbohydrate, total carbohydrate. Now, you might say, but it's natural. A lot of my patients will come in and say, well, I know I can't have sugar, but can I have honey? And honey is sweet. Naturally occurring things that are sweet generally have some sort of sugar in them. And so honey, if you're trying to get rid of all the sugar out of your diet, you wouldn't want to have honey. If you wanted to have a little bit, moderate the amount of sugar and starch. Not everyone has to do a keto diet. Then you just want to be mindful and moderate the amount of sugar in honey, because there is sugar there. If you're doing a strict keto diet, then honey would not be allowed. No agave, no honey, all those things, because they contain sugar. Even though they're natural sugar, they still have the same effect on the bloodstream, and that's really the key. I've been teaching low carb and nutrition for over 20 years now at Duke, and I'm past president of the Obesity Medicine Association, so I know there are lots of different ways to be healthy. There are lots of different ways to lose weight and be healthy while you're losing weight. It seems to me that the common denominator of all the approaches that we have that are effective and healthy is to keep the sugar and the insulin effect from the food you eat as low as you can. So you really want to eat to keep the insulin levels low. And insulin is a hormone in the body that goes up after you eat carbohydrate. One of its jobs is to lower the blood glucose, but it also tells the body to make fat out of the glucose, send the fat to the fat cell, and lock it up for when the famine comes. And the cruel joke is that there's never a famine these days, so you just keep storing it up. So you want to keep the blood glucose low, the insulin low. If you're being treated for a condition of elevated blood sugar, which is diabetes or prediabetes, then of course you want to keep the carbohydrate low in the foods. And no added sugar doesn't mean no carbs, or it doesn't mean there can't be natural sugar in it. So always look at the total carbohydrate on the label or on your app or on the internet when you're trying to decide how much will that raise my blood sugar. Now, I'm an MD, really self-taught nutrition expert, because I contacted people in the low-carb world and was able to visit experts in nutrition through the years and expert doctors who have used this method that I use now for over 20 years. And I'm not a PhD, meaning I worry about there's the old saying, how many angels can dance on the head of a pin is the classic PhD question. And so, I'm a lumper, not a splitter, like splitting hairs. And so in the big picture, the carbohydrates are the foods that raise the blood sugar. Yes, if you have fruit that has sugar in it, it's natural sugar, and there's a coating, usually fiber and all around it, and it doesn't get absorbed quite as fast as sugar by itself, the added sugar. And that's called the glycemic index or glycemic load. And there are a lot of MD PhDs who fine tune that, and okay, you can fine tune that, but if you're trying to get the big picture view and keep things simple, which is really my hallmark of my philosophy and approach, then you want to look at the no added sugar products carefully, because not adding sugar doesn't mean it's zero carbs. So basically, the sugar that occurs naturally or the sugar added to it has such a similar effect that I really consider them to be one and the same in the big picture view. Maybe a little nuance to the fruit absorption is less, and if you maybe add some protein or fats to the fruits, you might reduce the absorption. Fair enough. That kind of fine-tuning can happen so that, yes, you can partake and eat fruit or natural sugar, and starches get digested to sugar. Remember, in a part of a healthy lifestyle, you can eat these things. You just have to be careful about the glucose and insulin response, and everyone's response is different. But I know that for everyone who doesn't eat much carbohydrate, the glucose and insulin response is very low, or as low as it can be. A couple questions recently I got. If you're on a keto diet and your blood sugars aren't normal, that's okay. If you have extra weight to lose, extra insulin resistance, the blood sugars might not be totally normal yet. You got to hang in there, and like landing a plane, got to wait till you're on the ground, meaning the weight is totally gone, to expect the blood sugars to be basically back to normal. So sorry to be the heavy. If you just chose no sugar added products or see those things, I think it might be helpful, but maybe not in the big picture. If you add just as much junk foods basically, and just found things that were no sugar added, I've never seen a study specifically looking at the effect of doing that. If you use that idea with complete dietary change, I think generally that would be a good thing. But it would be very difficult to do a keto diet with just no sugar added products, because there are sugars and starches get digested to sugar in the real or regular foods, naturally occurring foods. I hope that's helpful. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Check out our classes on sugar and food addiction at the Adapt Your Life Academy, and see the description below for a link to my latest free guide for you. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and check out adaptyourlifeacademy.com.